Today we'll be talking about Jack Kirbys Fourth World and how he went from working for Marvel to DC and just kind of doing a deep dive into why Fourth World works. And in a part 2 video, we'll talk about maybe the cons of why it doesn't work. But let's look at the positives of Jack Kirbys Fourth World first. So after having helped create basically the whole Marvel universe with Stan Lee, Jack was treated differently when Marvel Comics was sold to Cadence Industries. Stan Lee was given a great contract to go with his contributions, while Jack was given a regular freelance writing contract, which was basically a slap in the face as far as I'm concerned. And there were also provisions made to where he couldn't fight later for copyright over anything he created or his art. So essentially that was the last straw, and Kirby decided to go to DC Comics and leave Marvel. At DC Comics, he created Fourth World, along with Commandy and a bunch of other stuff. But what is Fourth World? Well, it's essentially a holdover idea he had at Marvel while he was working on Thor that he carried over to DC. At Marvel on Thor, it was about Ragnarok and how the old gods would die and new ones would replace them. But at DC, these characters were made into separate titles, interlinked by various stories and characters. Now, essentially what you had was Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, the Forever People, the New Gods, and Mr. Miracle. In Mr. Miracle, it's essentially a superhero escape artist that escaped Apocalypse, where Darkseid is. And he's come to Earth, and he's still kind of being chased by Apocalypse and, Big Barda and all these secondhand characters of the New Gods. Whereas in Jimmy Olsen, Superman's pal, you get a little bit of everything with Jimmy and his ragtag group, and you get Superman in these stories that is now finding out a deeper connection of how Darkseid and Apocalypse have sort of invaded Earth, and they have all these secret agents planted around, various cities doing nefarious things. The Forever People was about these kind of like hippie groups of characters that have their own realm that is connected to Earth in some way through mother boxes and various other means. And in the New Gods, it's the overall story about these two worlds, basically allegory for heaven and hell. And they're kind of at peace, this very rigid peace that is essentially always on the brink of war. So you have Darkseid kind of invading Earth, and Superman and Jimmy getting involved, along with Mr. Miracle and all the other side characters. And then you have the New Gods who are trying not to stir up their own war and create all this havoc in the universe. But essentially, Orion has come to Earth to battle Darkseid and his evil forces. And that's really the basic premise for New Gods. So in order to see why Jack Kirbys Fourth World works, we're going to take a look at Jimmy Olsen, Superman's Pal, issues 142 and 143. And I know that after we do a deep dive into these issues, you'll be more convinced of why Jack knew what he was doing and why he was kind of in control of Fourth World, even if it didn't have like a through line to a complete full ending and stop. So at the beginning of issue 142, you get the man from Transylvania, and we see this vampire and werewolf figure basically zap this girl, Miss Conway, and you're thinking, wait, vampires? Like Universal monsters? And it kind of feels a little off just to start with, but trust me that it works, and it's a good payoff. Because soon after that, Jimmy Olsen and Superman get involved, Clark Kent in this case, and they find out that Miss Conway is in a trance, and when Clark holds her up to the mirror, there's no reflection. So again, Universal Monsters, kind of bizarre opening. You're like, what's going on? And they run into Count Dragorn of Transylvania, who turns out that he's searching for someone that he thinks Miss Conway might know the whereabouts of. Now, essentially, a fight ensues where the Wolfman, Dracula, Superman, and Jimmy all tango until they escape, having not gotten answers to the person they're searching for. And Jimmy and Superman follow them to a crypt. And now we switch over from issue 142 to 143. And Jimmy and Superman go down into the crypt and find one of the most fascinating yet bizarre things that Jack Kirby could have came up with. And that is that there is a living planet underneath, surrounded by cameras and gas. And it's just hiding there in the bed of the earth. And they don't know what to make of it, as it's just this super crazy idea that Jack Kirby came up with. On the flip side of this, the Newsboy Legion is actually coming into contact with people from Inner Gang who works for Darkseid, and they're trying to stop this guy named Dabney Donovan. It appears that the Transylvania members, the monsters, are also searching for Dabney Donovan because he's the one who created them and their planet. And even though the Newsboy Legion does find somebody, he ends up getting away. And it's kind of left unsolved on that end. But let's go back to Jimmy and Superman, who have discovered that there are coffins in the crypt that the monsters are staying in. And they end up finding out that the monsters are playing possum, and they get into a scrap with them and lose. Of course, Superman comes back, but before he does, he kind of decides to listen to see what it is they're after. And in essence, Superman learns that the planet was created by Dabney Donovan, and all those cameras around it show horror movie pictures onto the skies of the planet. So these monsters have basically become what they've seen, almost as like the gods' visions of the planet. So that's why they're monsters. And there's a prophecy on the planet of this thing called the genocide spray, the devil dog that's going to come and, kill them all. And Superman's like, wow, what is this? Maybe I can help these monsters and stop this, from killing all of them and basically create a genocide. Of course, what we learned was that Donovan had this robotic hellhound with a genocide spray in it that would have looked like this huge demon dog to them, but it's just this mechanical little thing that flies around the planet underneath the crypt. And Superman destroys it, saving the monsters. It's a happy ending. And Jimmy and Superman decide to play the movie Oklahoma as the monsters get in their crypts and depart back to the planet. All right, so let's kind of think about this. You're gonna submit a story to DC Comics. You're pitching. You're Jack Kirby. You basically have full control over everything you do. You're writing, you're drawing, you're your own editor almost. I mean, think about the story. Superman and Jimmy Olsen run into the Universal monsters. There's a planet at the bottom of a crypt surrounded by cameras that are projecting horror movies onto the planet, which created the monsters into monsters. And there's this thing called the Hellhound that's going to come and, create genocide on the planet. And it's all an experiment by this guy named Dabney Donovan, who's working for Inner Gang, that's basically a evil subsidiary of Darkseid. Wow. I mean, wow. Talk about the creativity. When I was reading this story, I had absolutely no idea where it was going to go. I didn't know what to expect. I was just like, this is just the craziest idea, that I've read so far in Fourth World, and it absolutely blew me away. Seeing Jack Kirby put his, mechanical, the technology, the Kirby technology into a Superman world was pretty neat to see. But look, let's explore what this story actually means in the context of Jack Kirby's life and what he's trying to say about it. You know what I mean? So here you have his story about these things that are perceived as monsters, that are being experimented on, and they're going to be killed with this genocide spray. It's very clear what Jack was trying to say here, as he is Jewish himself, he is a World War II vet, and he is one creative son of a gun, because I think this is one of the greatest stories he's ever created. And it just goes to show how strong his Fourth World characters and everything that he was trying to do with them was. This is pretty much a comprehensive look at a great example of what he was trying to do and how when he hit his mark, he really did hit it. I just want to thank everyone for watching and following along with me into these two stories of Jimmy Olsons, Superman's pal, and looking at Jack Kirbys Fourth World when it really was at its strongest, when it really did show what it could do, what he was capable of on his own, creating and just being let loose. I mean, this is just a zany, fantastic, out of this world story, but it's clear that Kirby's creativity was at an all-time high. So thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. You know, everything like that really helps out the channel, and it really lets me know that these videos I'm doing and, you know, putting my time into are being put towards entertaining people and informing people about the greater good of comic books and what they can do and how powerful they are as a medium. You can also follow me on Instagram under Cyberpunk Holiday. Stick around, as there will be a part 2 to this video, and I'll catch you later.